Hey there! Let's learn how to troubleshoot some common reasons profiles may fail to install on devices using Jamf School. If devices aren't receiving profiles or other management actions, one of the first things to do is check and make sure the devices are powered on and connected to the internet. It's also important to make sure your school's network configuration isn't blocking any network traffic that Jamf School may use to communicate with Apple devices. For more information, check out the link in the resources titled Firewall Ports, IP addresses, and URLs used by Jamf School. Sometimes profiles may fail to install due to outside factors like high network traffic during peak times or inopportune device shutdown. Other times, the profile may have successfully installed but seems to be acting irrationally. In these cases, we can reinstall the profile by navigating to Devices, Inventory, selecting the name of the device in question, and clicking Managed Profiles. From here, we can see all of the profiles that are currently scoped to the device. The buttons on the right allow us to reinstall the profiles or temporarily disable them. Reinstalling a profile removes the profile from the device and reinstalls a fresh version. Certain profile payloads and settings only work with certain platforms or device types. When creating profiles, it's important to select the correct platform and device type to match the scope of the devices for the profile. When creating a new profile, we are first asked which platform the profile is for: iOS, macOS, tvOS, a custom profile, or a network configuration profile. iOS, macOS, and tvOS profiles will only install correctly on those types of devices. If we create an iOS profile and our scope for that profile includes Macs, it will fail to install on the Macs. The network configuration profile option is the only profile option that is cross-platform and includes network-related payloads that will install correctly on all devices. After selecting the platform, we are asked to select an enrollment type: device enrollment or user enrollment. Device enrollment applies to any devices that our school owns. User enrollment should only be used for any devices in a Bring Your Own Device or BYOD program. If the wrong type of enrollment is selected here for the devices in scope, profiles may fail to install. To check the platform and enrollment type for a profile, from the Profiles Overview page, the Platform column displays which platform was selected for that profile. If we click a profile to view it, the platform and enrollment type can be seen on the general payload above the profile name field. We can then double-check the scope of the profile by clicking Scope on the left. Here we can see which groups have been selected as the scope and a list of all devices that fall into scope based on those groups. If this list doesn't look how we expect, that means we'll need to double-check the configuration of the device groups used to scope the profile. Many profile settings may require supervision to be enabled on devices or a minimum operating system version. Supervision can only be enabled on mobile devices by enrolling them through automated device enrollment or by using Apple Configurator. For computers, any Mac that's running macOS 11, Big Sur, or later is automatically supervised no matter the enrollment type. As such, only mobile devices owned by our school can be supervised. Personal devices in a BYOD program should never be supervised, and thus cannot receive settings that require supervision to be enabled. Likewise, many profile features are only supported by certain minimum operating system requirements. For instance, when reviewing the restrictions payload in an iOS profile, we can see in parentheses that many of these restrictions are only available on devices past a certain iOS version. This is because Apple didn't introduce that particular functionality until they came out with that particular operating system version. We can also see Supervised Only listed next to many of these options, noting that supervision is required. When creating smart device groups to be used for scoping profiles that require supervision, it's always a good idea to get in the habit of adding the Is Supervised criteria equals Yes. This will make sure our scope for profiles requiring supervision will only include devices with supervision enabled. Configuring too many payloads in one profile or leaving configured payloads empty can also cause profile installation failures. A good rule to stick to is to only configure one payload per profile. This also helps to keep things organized so settings don't get buried. Additionally, if a payload is configured but not filled out correctly or just left empty, the profile may fail to install on devices or certain features may not operate correctly. When we click a payload in a profile, we see a Configure button appear at the top of the page. Clicking that Configure button will add that payload to the profile, whether or not we fill it out. We can tell if a payload is configured as it will say Configured below its payload title. To remove a configured payload we don't need, select it, scroll up to the top, click Remove, and then click Save. Once saved, the profile will be updated on devices in scope. Some profile payloads can only be scoped to particular devices once. For instance, if we create a profile with the lock screen message payload and scope it to an iPad, and then later create a similar profile using that same payload and scope it to the same iPad, the second profile will fail to install because the iPad already has a lock screen message payload scoped to it. Double check we don't have any profiles duplicating the same payloads on devices. That's all for this video on troubleshooting profile failures in Jamf School. We'll see you again in another video.